hosted by our retail solutions coach and founder of VMID, Annie Nersessian. Annie has dedicated her career to helping retailers create a visual merchandising plan that increases sales and focuses on staff development. In today's webinar, she will discuss how you can put her tips to use for your holiday merchandising. Annie, take it away.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you for everybody who's joined this presentation. So just as Allison said, I am the founder of VMID. So basically, VMID is a service company where retailers can hire, depending on the type of support that they do need. So that can be hands-on labor, it could be consultations, design renderings, sourcing help, staff training, tool guideline creation as well. So think of a visual department that larger companies have, except because I cater to small businesses, basically you can hire a more customizable business based on an on-need basis. So because of this, I do have a lot of experience with multiple different types of retailers. And this is what's really shown me that there are so many VM principles that are similar no matter what type of products you are selling. And there are definitely principles for during the regular calendar year as well as separate ones for the holiday season. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. I'm not sure if any of you joined the Toronto Gift Fair and saw my live presentations there, but there were presentations hosted in terms of how to zone your stores, how to go about merchandising, strategic steps, as well as merchandising styles. So we are going to do a little bit of a refresher on this, just in case you were not there. So that way we're kind of cleansing our palettes and we're able to see great practices in merchandising. This is not specific to holiday season, so we just want to kind of, again, look at the great basics for during the calendar year. And because each example is definitely different in style, what's important to look at when you're looking at each image is look at the amount of units there are in each example. Look at how styled or staged it is and how displayed it looks. Look at how grabbable the products actually look based on how many units are presented and how displayed it actually is. So how shoppable is this? Do we want to interact? Should we be encouraging more or less interactivity? And also think about how you can integrate this into your own retail spaces as well. So in this example, we see that it is fairly staged. There's a lot of space given to this area. It is kind of displayed not exactly realistically how you would in a home, but it's definitely not just stocked product where you're kind of expecting the customer to dig on their own. It's displayed in a way that a customer can see the whole story at a glance, probably picture how each item would look in their home, and understand the style of this specific story because of the way it has been curated. Look at how the textiles are laid out, and they're pretty much completely open. We're giving a lot of value to the textiles by showing it this way, rather than having too many overlapping and rolled items, which would create more of a commodity feel. So it is fairly displayed and staged. However, by having multiple units, we are still encouraging customers to actually touch and feel these products this way, rather than just having single units each. That way, it would be a little bit too staged where customers wouldn't really be expecting to be able to shop this section. In this example, it's a little bit more traditional, less displayed, definitely more by commodity. However, it's still very, very clean, very tidy. You don't see the products really forced, or you're not really overpowering the section with too many units. You still have breathing space. You definitely see negative space. You still have a focal point in the middle. There's definitely a clear color story here, which makes it easy for customers to be able to decide what they want to shop and which items they want on their own. But per shelf, it is still by commodity, which means the pillows have their own section, the throws have their own section, cushions and towels there have their own sections. So it's still very organized where a customer can still shop the section easily, while at a glance, there's still products that are grouped together to help customers understand the items that actually belong with each other. This example is quite different where you don't see those multiple units. You see a lot of single items actually. It's very much displayed, not as welcoming to actually interact with, and that's because it's a little bit harder to grab the items, especially when you have items on top of each other this way. but that could be the reason behind this actual retailer style. So the amount that you want your customers to actually interact with the products should be showcased based on how welcoming you appear the products to be. So do you want them to feel intimidated to touch the products, or do you want them to actually interact a lot? And this also signifies the price point of your products. So right away, you are giving them clear expectations of what the price points can be. So in this example, it's a little bit more of a showroom effect where you're definitely displaying the products in a beautiful and effective way, but it's not as grabbable for customers, not as warm and welcoming. When it comes to health and beauty products like this, it's definitely important to make it very kind of user-friendly and encourage interactivity. Think of yourself as the shopper and think about how do you shop for items like this. You definitely want to be able to touch and smell. In general, with retailers overall, I do highly recommend to encourage interactivity. Unless, of course, you have a type of product where you don't want them to be too touchy-feely. But your benefit of having a physical space over being an online-only retailer is you can actually sell from using your customer senses. So what can you do to get them to appreciate the smell and touch and feel of your products? In this case, it's soap. We know that that's something you do want to kind of get to know before you purchase. But this is a really fun way where you're actually encouraging customers to interact with the products and you're basically welcoming them to it. Again, that's not to say every soap company should have hands on the walls, but it is worth thinking about how can you encourage your customers to interact with your products. In general, where you have something displayed and you're romancing the item, the item should be very nearby so that the customer is not losing momentum. So if you've attracted them with a beautiful outfit, or in this case, these jeans on display, if those jeans are not found easily, the customer will lose interest and you'll be losing that sale. So this is quite the opposite of that analogy where the jeans are directly on top of each display piece. So it's a really fun and interesting way of making sure you are educating the customer with the actual fit of the products, but it's also right there for them to actually grab it themselves. Again, look at the unit count. If there are only single units of each pair of jeans, a customer would think that it's not really independently shoppable. They're not supposed to be grabbing that pair. But this way they can see the style and it's directly there for them to actually be grabbing. This is a really great example of merchandising because if you look at the products, these are very simple, basic products. And if not done right, they could very easily be boring and be overlooked by customers. But what they've done is using a different layout and different heights and dimensions, different views of these products, they've created a lot of depth. And yes, there is some propping with, let's say, the floral and the backdrop there, but it is quite minimal, or it's just sort of a complement to the actual products. So if something is not seen easily to customers, you maybe can't blame the product as much as think about what can you do to the product and how can you show it to make it really attention-grabbing for customers. In regular times, this is not during holiday season, this is a very typical floor plan where overall, and we'll kind of cut down to each zone a little bit later on, but overall, your main new arrivals, your launch collections, and your priorities are of course at the front of your store, while your sale sections are towards the back. Usually you don't want the sale to take too much priority to customers when it comes to presents, and that's because obviously they have smaller margins, so it doesn't make as much sense for your business to be pushing those goods as much when you know that customers are okay with spending regular price during the year. Also consider what sales shoppers are like. They are more likely to really make the effort to get that discount or that sale. So it's okay to make them actually work for it and put the sale in the least visible zones, which actually encourages them to walk throughout the store, give the regular price items a chance before they hit the discount sections. In this example, this is a great example because the products are very abundant, so this is not delicate or precious at all. Yet, it's still very tidy and easy to shop. And of course, a part of that is because the fixture is a very clear grid layout that is really kind of segregating each section. So that does make it easier. But pretend that wasn't the case and these grids weren't here. Ideally, each product would still be segregated off from each other. And this is what commodity merchandising would look like, where you don't have the items curated together to create an editorial or lifestyle look. You just have an abundance of each sort of item, multiple units of each, so customers can see the repeated product at a glance and make their pick. So something like this is a great example of a POP section, which is a point of purchase section. This is typically by a cash desk where there are items that are hard to say no to because, they're very easily used on a regular basis. They have lower price points. So think about your POP sections, whether it's holiday or during the year, and how you can make them grabbable when it's the last chance for customers to add on items to their existing purchases. In this example, it's pretty abundant with product, but if you notice, it still has a lot of negative space around each product. And this is important to take note because when you do give breathing space and negative space around products, you are giving them more value and letting customers really appreciate the products more. However, it doesn't look too delicate either. It's still very much bulked up. There's still multiple units, and you don't really see any specific items that are very light with products compared to other items. It's fairly evenly abundant, and this is very important to consider when you're replenishing your items so that you don't look like any item is sort of sold over. If you have a lot of onesies mixed in with multiple units, it's going to look sold over and messy, so it's really important to be on top of your replenishing. This is a good example of both being lifestyled but not too delicate again. So obviously there's accessories integrated here where they are single units. The shoes, the hat, the football even, those are not items a customer would walk away with because they're purposely just put there for display purposes to accessorize the look. But the tops there, being multiple units, definitely makes it more encouraging for a customer to actually grab and walk away. So again, just consider this because we're going to come back to this during holiday time and how this might be slightly different during the holidays. In this example, we see another kind of health and beauty care line, and you definitely feel that this product line has a lot of value because everything is single tiered. It's not too bulked up, so it definitely makes each item seem more valuable. And if you notice, the signage is also very professional and elevated. Signage can really make or break a deal, so it's important if you do want to keep your presentation elevated to make sure that you're not being counterproductive by just incorporating sort of anything less than professional signage. In this example, again, we have a fixture that does make it very easy to keep clean and tidy grid lines because of the actual fixture that it is. But again, keep note and see that it's still not overfilled. We can get a little bit more precious here, but it still feels very much grabbable and it's not overstuffed with products. And I keep repeating this point because I know it's very, very normal and very common to really want to show everything you have because you really want to sell everything. But when you really stuff your spaces with a lot of products, you're basically making it too easy for customers to glaze over everything because you're basically creating a wall. You're creating a flat surface rather than actually showing negative spaces for them to actually absorb and grasp what they're looking at. It's important to have focal points that actually pull a customer's attention so that they're able to see one section from a next. It's kind of like having a few keywords to look at rather than a full paragraph to read. So what we're going to be looking at is we just went over a bit of a VM refresher just to kind of see what our expectations would be for merchandising throughout the year. Next, we're going to look at holiday merchandising specifically and how that might slightly alter compared to the rest of the year. Then we'll look at holiday sale merchandising because there are a few key sale dates in there that are definitely important in the retail world. And we're also, of course, going to look at the charm factor because we don't want to just do holiday and not incorporate this charm that, really is the reason that customers actually do enjoy holiday shopping. So on that note, for holiday merchandising, what's important here is to really think like a customer because, of course, all of us are not just in this business. We are also customers out there. So it can be hard to kind of get on the other side of the perspective there, but think about how you yourselves would be shopping during this time of year. So first we're going to look at what are customers' shopping needs. So we're going to be thinking about what would their shopping list be looking like during the holiday season. So these are just very common categories. So of course they'll be buying gifts for others. They'll also be preparing for parties. So this might be for themselves, whether it's host gifts or event outfits or home decor for their own homes to be hosting parties. Stocking stuffers are very common. And with each category, think about how you would be shopping for these items, whether it's by style or by price point. Secret Santas or Kris Kringles are also another popular gift on people's lists. Emergency gifts. And what I mean by that is it's pretty common for all of us, I think, to have those people that you weren't expecting to get a gift from, and all of a sudden you're scrambling trying to reciprocate that gift. So we all do kind of need to have a stash of those emergency gifts just in case that happens. Also, shopping by personality. So we don't just, go to a single store and buy for everybody. Generally, that would be a beautiful situation if that's the case. But in general, you do kind of think about what kind of person am I shopping for, what store suits them, what do they like. So we do really think about personalities when we're actually shopping for people. Shopping needs by customer experience. So now that we've considered their shopping list, what do our actual customers need and what do we need as customers? It can be a very, very stressful time for multiple reasons. Maybe you have people on your list you don't feel like shopping for. Maybe you have budget constraints. Maybe it's your schedule. So we need to make this experience as minimally stressful as possible, if at all possible, not stressful at all for our customers. So how can we minimize stress? First, make sure that your shopping experience or consumer experience is as easy and comfortable as possible when it comes to shopping. And we'll look at what tips and tricks we can do to make it as easy and comfortable for them as possible. Thinking about being price conscious. So that doesn't mean discounting everything, but it might be just a matter of helping them understand the value of your product so they do feel like it's worth the cost. Also making sure that is a fast experience because you don't want customers to have to make too much of an effort to shop, and that's basically because they won't. So the quicker you can make their purchase decisions for them and help them to make those purchase decisions quickly, the better for both sides. Also keeping their energy pumped up because it can be really, really tiring. So you want to make sure that you are keeping their shopping momentum by keeping their energy high. Also more units. So all of the examples that we saw, the units were not very abundant and they looked beautiful that way and it is easier to shop that way. We can get away with actually increasing the number of units we typically show, not again to the amount that it's not shoppable or that it degrades your image, but because you are going to be shopped through much faster than the rest of the year and customers would be expecting that as well. So this is what a typical zone plan looks like again, where we're starting with the front of the store is always the launch zone, and that's where your launch collections would be, your newest arrivals, your absolute number one priority should always be the first thing that customers see. The next visible zone, so in this case they're on the either side of the launch collection, should be your secondary stories, so your second most important stories. In this example, we have core goods sort of in the middle and towards the back by the cash desk area. And by core goods, we mean staple items, basic items, all those items that customers know they're going to find in your store. So you don't need to push it on them because they already expect it to be there. And that's why it's not as important as your new arrivals to educate customers with it. And again, lastly, we typically have sales towards the back. During the holiday season, this can also be the case, but we need to think about what type of products are we working with. So it's really important to always understand what categories you have in your store at all times so you can decide which categories or product groupings should belong in each zone of your store. So in this case, we're going to pretend that the categories we have to work with are being party ready for the holidays, having giftables, so items that are easy gifts for other people, having a stocking stuffer and Secret Santa section, and lastly, still having a sale section. And we're not talking holiday time right now where we're thinking about Boxing Day or Black Friday. We're going to get to that. This is holiday season, thinking about, November as an example or beginning of December. We're not hitting those really, really heavy sale times yet. So first thing we want to do is, here in this case, pretending that Party Ready are the newest items, the most important to be showing right now because they're the most statement pieces, we would have that in the launch zone. So that's in the launch collection. The giftables would next be in the next zones over, knowing that it's really important to show how giftable you are during the season. While stocking stuffers are usually quick add-on items, even if it's not something that would be on their minds until they're getting on their cash desk, that would be a good idea to consider those your new POP items. So those would be very conveniently placed by your cash desk, with sales still being in your back section. During the holidays, this is when customers are just ready to shop because they kind of feel like they have to, so you might as well be pushing your fuller margins, right? You don't want to provide them with your discount items right away because there is a separate time for that. This is when your business really makes its bread and butter for the rest of the year, so you really want to leverage on this time of year. So let's think about, what do we need, or what do the customers need, and how to zone this off. So buying gifts for others, preparing for parties, stocking stuffers, secret Santas, emergency gifts, and shopping by personality. So did we knock all of this off with this zone? Buying gifts for others, definitely in the giftable section. Preparing for parties, in the Party Ready section. Stocking stuffers and secret Santas already have their items, their zones. Emergency gifts and shopping by personality can also be in the giftable section. So when you see a section like giftables as an example that takes up so much of the store, it's important to not see it as a single story, but to actually create subcategories. So giftables does mean buying gifts for others, including shopping by personality, as well as emergency gifts. So think about, within that zone, how do you section it off even further and break it down so that this is clear for customers, and per fixture they can see what type of customer that gift is for. This is making it much easier for them to actually shop and cross people off their list. Next, of course, we want to reduce the stress. So how do we do that? First, we want to make sure they have the easiest shopping experience possible. So it's very important to create clear zones for them so that they understand their consumer journey. What I mean by that is, think about a home where obviously each section is very visibly, the kitchen separated from the dining room, separated from your bedroom, and that's because you have specific furniture that makes each room really clear, as well as walls differentiating them. But pretend those walls are broken down. You should still be able to tell what each room is. Now use that mentality when it comes to your actual stores and spaces. When a customer comes in, do they feel like they're in one huge overwhelming room, or can they actually see different zones? So at a glance, they understand how to navigate and where they should go and what each zone actually consists of. This makes each section much easier to actually shop and makes it more organized for them and easier and less stressful. You also want to consider a smooth flow. So when you do your zones and your category planning in your spaces, make sure that the transition from one zone to another actually makes sense. You don't want it to feel too inconsistent and kind of hiccupy. You want to make sure that zone A to zone B actually does have some sort of a similarity or a smooth transition, rather than feeling like it's zone A and then zone Z next. That transition being smooth is very important. Also, create clean, organized layouts and displaying products. So a lot of the examples that we saw in the refresher were very beautiful, organized examples where you can actually see the products at a glance, making it much easier to actually shop it. Even during holidays time, although customers, are expecting a little bit more chaos, and yes, you'd probably kind of bulk up your store a little bit more because you're going to sell out more, you still need to make sure that your layouts are as clean and organized as possible. So if you need to incorporate more products, think about what kind of different merchandising layouts can you do to actually be able to house more units and more products, where you're not just stuffing it in and degrading the brand image, but you're just incorporating more and still making it easy for customers to see. Reducing stress also has to do with being able to walk. So when you're already stressed and there's a huge crowd of people and you can't really get by, You're either going to leave or you're going to get really fussy. Think about customers holding their coats as an example and have all this extra bulk around them. You do want to make sure they have comfortable breathing space to actually walk through spaces. Legally, you want to make sure that you have at least 4 feet of space in your walkways, and that's both to accommodate for strollers as well as wheelchairs. So definitely make sure that if you have created a walkway, you make it clear for customers that they can walk through there by creating at least 4 feet of space, and this makes it much more comfortable already. We want to energize those customers, so an easy way of doing that is the type of music that you select, the lighting that you select, and making sure that it's not too dim. Of course, you do want music and lighting to go along with your brand image as well, but you do kind of want to make sure that it is keeping their energy high and not making them drowsy. With more units to shop through, again, not too many, but just an increased amount, you are giving them a reason to actually explore more of your store. So that does also help to energize the customers. When it comes to increasing your units, don't add more fixtures to your space, because very typically retailers usually have the right amount of fixtures in their actual space, but think about within each fixture what you can do to actually be able to integrate more units. So this might mean swapping some of the units, where you really should look at your fixtures and think about how many products are they able to house while still looking good. So as an example, nesting tables do house a lot of products because you can fold a lot of items on there. Incorporating more shelving onto your walls as another example, is another great way, because folded items take up less room, which means you can have more products for the same amount of space. So think about what each fixture does for you and how you can integrate more products based on these principles. This as an example, we looked at this example before. So how do we make this more holiday-ish? We can increase the number of units that are folded. Again, not so much that it's sloppy and falling over, but we can bulk it up a little bit. We can use more risers to create more surfaces, so you have more surfaces to add items onto. You can also create this into more of a nesting table, because right now it looks like a single tier, but just by having a shorter tier underneath, you're not really taking over too much more floor space, but that is an additional surface to be using. And I wouldn't say remove the accessories completely, because they do really help to kind of put the whole outfit into context for customers and educate them and sell them on it, but you can decrease the number of accessories that you would typically have, just so you have more areas for multiple units and fewer accessories. So keep in mind that little tip when it comes to shelving and having more surfaces to fold. Your folds will be your best friend. In any way that you can actually house more multiple units of your products compared to singles, those fixtures will be your best friend during the holidays. In this example, it still looks really premium and beautiful. However, it is very, very abundant and bulked up, and it does kind of look like it is holiday season in this photo anyways. So while being a little bit more on the precious and delicate side with a lot of your products, usually looks good during the year, especially if you're selling higher price points. It's okay to bulk a little bit more than usual. This is when maybe you want to think about what additional fixtures you need, or VM supplies such as containers to help you bulk up more but still really keep that clean and tidy layout. We looked at this example earlier, so this is holiday time. This also might be a little bit too precious looking, where it doesn't look as grabbable during the holiday season, so we can either create a second tier here or include more of those baskets and containers to really help bulk up these soaps. Another idea is knowing that everything should be more giftable looking and really kind of create that idea into customers' minds. You can take over the top tier with actual gift packaging, or show items that could belong together in a gift package, so you are creating that giftable mood in each section. In this example, again, it's very beautiful, but if you want it bulked up more, it could be a matter of integrating a table, so you have a top surface and a lower tiered section, so you have more surfaces to use. That way you're still staying true to your actual brand image and the layout, but you're only taking advantage of more surface space. If we wanted to make this more holiday-ish, the layout can even stay the same, but it might just be a matter of integrating little sprigs of tree branches, of holiday Christmas tree branches, so that you are kind of warming it up a little bit and getting the holiday season on customers' minds. It could be a matter of swapping out those vertical stripes with red ribbons to make it look more holiday-ish. So sometimes it's really just subtle touches. I don't really believe in over-propping sections because I think that really overshadows the actual products that you're trying to sell, but there can be very subtle ways that you can make something a little bit more true to the season. So that's the holiday season, but there are certain dates during the holidays that it's down and dirty sale time, and specific dates that I'm referring to are Black Friday and Boxing Day. So while we do want to still have a beautiful presence in our retail spaces, of course, there's times that a different type of customer comes out, and if you don't cater to them, you're going to fall behind. So sometimes it does make sense to look more down and dirty sale time, and that's kind of only forgivable during the holiday sale time. This is very different from the rest of the holidays. Shopping needs during this time are all about savings. So not only do you want it to be obvious to customers that you are helping them with savings, but you want to look like it. So reflect sale. Again, specific to Black Friday and Boxing Day. If you have a small sale section outside of these days, you can still keep it kind of minimal and still follow these principles, but not have your store actually taken over. While these days really should scream sale right away. So again, typical zone plan during the holiday season, but what we want to do during the sale time is make sure the sale section actually comes up to the front of the store, so we're screaming sale right away since that is our new focus. So sale taken over both in the windows and the front of the store, while we're really minimizing the rest of the items towards the back, but we can still keep the same order of them. Reflecting sale means blatantly being different from regular price merchandising. So where you have regular price, I would advise to keep that still looking a little bit more presentable and precious so that it does look like regular price, rather than the sale section should look a little bit more down and dirty clearance. Not to the point of not being shoppable, but looking like it's, it costs less. Keep in mind that sale customers will make more of an effort to actually find those items and shop, and while we are taking over the front of the store at this time, it's okay to have them think a little bit more and dig a little bit more because they're willing to do so. Remember that they are still customers, so you don't want to degrade the experience completely where it's impossible for them to shop. You still want to make it easy for them to actually drive through those units because you don't want those units to be in your stores forever. Help make the shopping experience as quick as possible. So think about when you go into Zara during the year, obviously they have very organized and clear merchandising stories. If you go during Boxing Day, you might find that the whole store has no story except that everything is categorized by sizes or within product type by sizes. It doesn't look good, but it's definitely the easiest way to shop for discounted items. So what can you do to make it as organized as possible to make them be able to shop as quickly as possible? This is an example, obviously, where it looks down and dirty, but kind of in a fun way. So if you do want to kind of scream a sale, think about what fun displays you can do. This would work well in an actual window display, but in a store, it would be a disaster because customers might think that this just means free-for-all. They can dig through themselves. They will create much more of a mess. Rather than a window display, it will look like it's an intentional chaos. In this example, you see a lot of kind of mishmash of products. And what I mean by that, it looks like there's not too many units of each. So it doesn't look like it's let's say a new collection when you were looking at the walls there. So it is a very nice looking store, but when you have a mishmash of items, just make sure that it is categorized by the actual product type, and that way it will kind of reflect itself as a sale section, but still look presentable. Here as well, although it doesn't look very boutique-ish or very pleasant to the eye, I guess, All the Christmas items are grouped together, so at least it's very obviously the Christmas zone. And you could actually see each item. It's not making it hard for you to grab anything. So they have done a good job. Again, still screaming sale during this time. This example as well, these are very, very adorable products, but if you take a good look, you don't really see that they're lifestyled, they're not very staged, and they could have done that, especially on the table as an example, which is why this is another good example of a sale section, because everything is grouped by actual product type, so it's organized, it's just not overly styled or staged. Again, this is what differentiates the sale sections from the regular price. Another section here, you do see multiple units, but you don't see much negative space. So the less negative space you show, the lower the price point seem. And that's why when you have sale times, it's okay to bulk it up more, or you are sacrificing the breathing in the negative space. This is another example that it's very bulked up, and again, a little bit more logical during sale time, but not so much during the rest of the year. This is an example where it's a little bit too bulked up in a sale view, and that's because there are so many items on top of each other. It's really hard to actually shop the section. You don't want to be the one that topples everything to the ground, or you're going to have the customers that see it's a mess and feel too welcome to make more of a mess. So while you are keeping everything very sale presentable and a little bit more down and dirty than usual, you just still want to make sure that you are keeping it very easy for them to shop. Lastly, we want to think about the charm factor. Part of the holiday season is actually having that warm and fuzzy feeling, so we want to make sure that we do reflect the holiday time in our displays. So while we've been talking about merchandising and organizing the store, don't overlook the actual charm aspect, which is those visual displays, because that's what really makes it more pleasant to shop in stores during the holiday season, and that's what really brings some customers to specific retailers. So think about your charm points. What I mean by charm points are those visual focal areas that really draw customers over. Of course, very typically the struts and the window displays that would attract customers inside. Your launch zones should also be another charm point. Once the customer is standing at the launch zone and they're looking around, they need to see another reason to actually be pulled to another section so that they also explore that section. Once they're there, what reason do they have to walk over to another section? Don't rely on customer loyalty. You can't just expect that they're going to give your whole space a chance. You need to create reasons for them to actually navigate the whole store. And to do that, you need to create these charm points. This is true throughout the year, but in this case, we're thinking about holiday decor specifically. So don't feel like you really need to incorporate all the usual typical decorations in your store. You do want to think about your specific brand image and what kind of decor actually suits your customers and your brand image. So multiple types of holiday decor that you can actually cater to are the traditional style, cozy, kitsch, modern, or even edgy styles. A few examples of these are this. I would consider fairly traditional. Everything is very kind of familiar, very commonly used. There's nothing sort of new about it, but it does sort of resonate with a lot of customers and create that warm and fuzzy feeling that they're so used to feeling. In this example, it's not so holiday specific, but it's very seasonal. So you can create something a little bit more true to the season and not worry about holidays so much, where again you're catering to what it actually feels like outside. Customer can really resonate with this when it's cold outside, so you're getting something familiar to them, and it's very warm and fuzzy. This is another example of the warm and fuzzy feeling that's seasonal and not so holiday specific. However, it's a little bit more, I'd say, modern and graphic and bold and really framing the actual product. So again, what I would advise is don't overprop where you're overshadowing your products. You want to make sure that everything you do is actually showcasing your product. So this really draws our eyes to the actual product. This is a really great example of actually using Christmas trees but not making it so traditional and obvious. What I would say is, unless typical Christmas trees actually suit your brand image, try not to just use typical Christmas trees because they're very, very overdone. Think about what you can do to actually cater more specifically to your brand image. Another thing I love about this image is all of the products they use are very simple and they're just in white. So that really helps the actual color of the products to stand out against them. Another interesting non-traditional tree where they're actually using it as a fixture to hold the actual product. So this is very successfully actually showcasing the products and really showing the brand image with the materials of this tree. This is a great example of, again, not really overpowering, but integrating holiday decor into your existing fixtures. So instead of having something that blocks the view, they're simply incorporating a few little Christmas trees in there and some wooden blocks to sort of romance the look. And what's very successful about this is because it's selling home decor, it could very well show these products in context to customers so that they understand how it can look during holiday time in their homes. So this is a very great subtle way of simply injecting holiday without really screaming it. This is another interesting way of using the actual products as the decor. So again, it's more about the products, but it is in a subtle way showing the holiday season to really cater to customers during this time. Very often, retailers kind of forget about their vertical space, whether it's walls or even ceilings. So think about what can you actually hang from the top to kind of create more of a holiday decor feel, except without taking over floor space that can be given to products. So a simple version of this can be creating a garland that looks like snow falling. When you do something like this, of course, you want to make sure that it's somewhere that's not interfering with the shopping experience. So typically, a window display would be a great idea where you're not blocking any fixtures or, making it too tempting for somebody to pull these down. You want something like wreaths. When you're catering to, let's say, home decor as an example, you're showing home products, you do want to consider the actual home trends. So that also counts for the holiday decor you use. What kind of home trends exist right now, and what kind of styles should you incorporate into your store so that you do look like you're on trend? It could even be a matter of swapping out current VM supplies. So instead of using your typical risers, maybe you have little tree stumps like this to use as actual risers. So you're not taking over more space, but you're injecting more holiday into there and really warming up your space and really creating a beautiful set design of the holiday season. Lastly, I want to go over some quick tips and tricks. So do's and don'ts of the holiday season. Ensure that you are adding the warmth of the season because this will really kind of set the right mood for customers that you really want to leverage off of. Stay true to your brand image. So again, don't feel like you have to inject something traditional or cheesy that doesn't go with the rest of your store. Think about how you can still keep the personality of your store while catering to the holiday season. Cater to your specific clients as well. So what would they expect, or what can you do to really charm them specifically? Maximize the gift selling season. So any way that you can give them ideas to shop for more gifts, the better. Whether it's making it easy to pack items together as a gift package, maybe it's a matter of showing the actual gift packaging you have available, but you do want to make sure that whether you know it or not, your customers see your store as a gift selling store. Make your customers feel that you are actually helping them. So you do want to make this experience as stress-free as possible and make it as easy on them. Don't fall behind in the season. So even if you hate this time of year and don't want to see any holiday decor, you don't want to miss out on opportunities where your business can really leverage off of the season. And that also counts for the sale time that a lot of us don't really like to merchandise that way because it's very different from what we're used to seeing. But again, you don't want to fall behind. You do always want to be catering to what customers are expecting. Don't take impactful layouts for granted. So again, don't rely on customer loyalty where you think they're going to shop no matter what. You do still have to make it beautiful and easy for them to shop in your stores. Don't assume loyalty, and don't overprop and overpower your actual products with too much decor. They should be amplifying your products, not overshadowing. And lastly, know your customers. So think about what type of gifts are customers looking for during this type of year, or what are their needs? Are there different holidays within this overarching season that are actually being celebrated by your customers? And is it worth kind of carving out a section to actually cater for specific types of clientele as well? So it's really, really important to know who your customers are and how you can cater to them in terms of your retail presentations. On that note, I want to thank you all for attending this presentation. I hope it was helpful. I'm not sure if I can see any chat questions, but I was actually going to check now to see if you have any questions that I can answer real quick, since we have a few more minutes to go. Allison, you might be the one getting the questions. I don't know if there's any that you want to pass on to me.
At the moment, I don't have any questions, but questions you can definitely send in. And if there's anything, we can forward them on to you, and we can answer them at that time. But thank you so much for your time, Annie, and for a great webinar. And thank you for everyone who attended.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Allison. And thank you for all the attendees as well. I hope you have a very successful holiday season. And stress-free. Bye for now.